All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. So this is gonna be a little bit different video than what I normally do. So went to Hot Pride this weekend and was having a great time. Watched some of the rock bouncers. Watched the little buggies. I guess the razors on steroids. Watched them go up, do some hill climbs and stuff. Well, got later in the day and we went back to camp and decided we were gonna go ride. So we went back to camp, ate dinner, went back out on the trails for a little night run. Nothing crazy. We hit the the boat ramp, driving down some trails. Did a couple little flats obstacles here and there. Nothing really crazy. And then we turned off on this one trail that had some rock in it. Nothing crazy. I was with my buddy and his LJ on 40s, and the guy behind me was in a juggy that was on 43 stickies. But the Jeep was doing good. Jeep was crawling everything just fine. It was wet, it was muddy. So I use that term lightly, crawling. We were kind of having to bump it. Even my buddy on 40s was having to bump stuff. So we're going down through this trail, and we get about a quarter of the way in, and there's this big rock on my driver's side. And I don't have any video of it, so I'm just having to recount from memory what exactly happened. But so there's this big rock on my rock slider, and I'm hitting my rear diff. So my thought in it is, okay, well, I'll back up, put my driver's side tire on it, get my rear tire to come up on that rock, and I can miss the diff hanger that's catching my rear. So I do that. Well, I slide off the rock. Didn't think nothing of it, nothing I haven't done before. Okay, it's wet, it's slick, and it's actually going to be a good line, and it's crawling it just fine. Well, we're sitting there, and I'm like, okay, with it as wet as it is, I'm gonna have to bump it. So I back up, couple inches, and preload it and send it. Well, as soon as I send it, everything cuts off. No power to the Jeep, won't run, won't start, and I smell diesel. Getting out of the Jeep, I end up getting it backed up. We hook the guy that's behind me in the juggy, end up hooking his winch up to me and pulling me back so we can see what's going on. Well, I know the fuel filter is right there in that general location. So I'm like, okay, so I've hit the fuel filter, nothing big. I've got RCV, I've got stuff, I got stuff that I can fix the Jeep and get it off the trail, and we can look at it the next morning. Well, it turns out to be worse than that. So we'll get the Jeep pulled back, and we're trying to see where the leak's coming from, so we have to try to start it. And it just starts pouring the absolute crap out of diesel. And so I get under there, I pull the skid plates, I get everything pulled apart, and this is over hours. Like, this isn't just, 10 minutes in, we knew what was wrong with it. No, this was hours into it that it took me to get these skid plates off. Now, granted, I carry all the tools that I need to do all this work and everything in the back of the Jeep. So I had all my toolkits out, I had everything out, and I finally get all the skid plates off. Well, at the very top, there's your inline from the fuel tank, and then there's where it goes in through the filter housing unit, and then it comes out and goes to the engine. Well, on the top, it's a plastic housing unit for the fuel filter, and one of the nipples has broke off that comes from the tank, that goes into so line comes in from the tank, goes into the fuel filter. It broke right there, which is a bad design anyways. It should be metal at the least. So I get that. I start looking at it, start trying to come up with ideas of how to bypass it, how to fix it, and we think we can just unhook, get the piece off, because it broke it completely off, clean break. we can get that piece off, bypass the fuel filter, which isn't recommended, but when you're in desperate times like that on the trail, like you have to do what you gotta do. So we get it, and we're working on pulling it apart. Well, in the process, we end up breaking the other outlet that goes from the filter side up to the engine. We end up breaking that piece off too. So I don't know if this is a 21. I don't think these parts should have been that worn out. I feel like it's just a bad design using plastic in that situation. Now granted, when I got under there, the rock had shifted the whole fuel filter, so that's what broke it. And it's not hard lines. They're not super hard lines. They're not metal. They're like some type of a little bit harder plastic or whatever. But yeah, so at that point, there's no fixing it. No way to get fuel from the tank, bypass the filter to the engine. So we tow it out, and that took a very, very long time. It took me using my winch plus the Juggies winch. Like it was just a very, very long process. So about 2 a.m. So we went back out on trails about 7 p.m. We got back to camp at about 2 a.m. So if that tells you, we wasn't that far into the trail system. We were, maybe half mile, if that. But yeah, so anyways, I'm gonna show y'all real quick what actually occurred, if I can get under here and see it. Okay, so this is the fuel filter housing. Normally this is hooked up top where those two bolts are that are taken out. I've got everything still torn apart because I've got a new filter housing coming. So yeah, so Jeep is down hard right now. It shouldn't take me long to fix. I've got the parts on the way to fix it. Drop it at my buddy's house up here in Athens, Tennessee, and we'll work on it and get it back on the trail. But yeah, so that's ultimately what happened. And we were having a good time, and that's a spot I'm gonna have to look at and figure out what I'm gonna do as far as getting everything fixed, so it doesn't happen again. I know there's a few companies out there that make some skid plates that go for that. I may end up designing my own and fixing it myself instead of spending how many ever hundreds of dollars that a company wants for the skid plate. But I may just end up doing that myself. But yeah, so that's what happened. Jeep's down hard right now, but I'm gonna get it unloaded off the trailer here and get it set up so that we can get to working on it. And when the parts come in, it should just be pretty simple. Unplug everything, put everything on the new one, and yeah. So I want to thank everybody for watching. If you haven't already, please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. I did do an update on this on Facebook Sunday, so if you ain't following Facebook, make sure you follow that. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks guys, have a great one.